God created women with an amazing ability to love. When we think of mothers, we remember warmth, happiness, and peace. In 1992, founded by Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon and her late husband, Reverend Sun Myung Moon, Women's Federation for World Peace took a historic step on the path toward world peace and toward changing the world with maternal love.
세계 평화 여성 연합 운동은 여성만을 위한 운동이 아닙니다. 이상적 가정들이 모여서 이상적인 국가, 이상적인 세계를 이루게 되는 것입니다.
Since our founding in 1992, WFWP members have organized activities in 119 countries aimed at transforming this world into a world of peace, peace and reconciliation, women's leadership, family support, and women's independence. Thanks to our partnerships with the UN, governments, and a wide variety of public and private organizations, these efforts have brought true progress. More than 160,000 women have participated in sisterhood ceremonies to reconcile historical resentment and move toward peace and reconciliation. More than 360,000 women received leadership training to empower them and secure their status in society. More than 327,000 women have received education for building peaceful families. And more than 35,000 women and girls have received training and education that has helped them to become financially independent. Over the last 30 years, much has been achieved and women's rights have greatly improved. But even where there has been progress, it is not enough, and tremendous challenges still remain in many countries. For example, despite improved school enrollment, 1 in 10 young women today are still unable to read and write. Another challenge is the lack of women in top leadership positions. 3/4 of all parliamentarians in the world are men. Furthermore, at the tables where peace is discussed, the vast majority of negotiators and signatories are men. We know that women's involvement would bring more lasting peace agreements. Even at this moment, the sound of guns is ringing out in many places throughout the world. Never has it been so clear that we must act with urgency to bring peace. Even in the face of great challenges, women have an extraordinary ability to find peaceful solutions to problems. Over the past 30 years, the amazing love and dedication of thousands of WFWP volunteers have brought real and lasting change in many places throughout the world. With a mother's heart, we will continue this journey until peace is a reality for all and no one is left behind.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, advocates for gender equality, of Women's Empowerment. Good morning and good evening to those joining us virtually. Welcome to our parallel event of the 68th session of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women with the priority theme, Accelerating the Achievement of Gender Equality and the Empowerment of All Women and Girls by Addressing Poverty and Strengthening Institutions and Financing with a Gender Perspective, Climate Resilience. This event is organized by the Women's Federation for World Peace International and co-organized by SPARC Philippines and Women's Consortium of Nigeria. My name is Merly Barlan. I am the director of WFWPI's Office for UN Relations in New York. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Today we come together under the overarching theme of accelerating the achievement of gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls. Recent statistics underscore a harsh reality. Women and girls bear a disproportionate burden of poverty, with 70% of the world's poor being female. In this context, our parallel event, grounded in the framework of the CSW68, aims to address critical gaps in our approach to gender equality. We recognize the intricate connections between poverty, climate change, and women's empowerment. By amplifying the voices of women as catalysts for change, particularly in the realms of food security, economic development, and climate resilience, we seek to catalyze actions towards a more equitable world. Our program today is structured to facilitate insightful discussions and actionable insights. We will start with an opening address that sets the stage for our discussion on nourishing change, women as catalysts for food security, economic development, and climate resilience. May I call on President of the Women's Federation for World Peace International, Ms. Moriko Hori, for her opening address. Mrs. Hori?
In order to make open members of the skills, we need exact, well-educated, and business. Remember, we're friends, so welcome in many ways. As one can say, from the sector of consumers, also the parts of women. Police and climate is essential, disability, legal power. But these it hints the number and the quality of the youth's age. And now the picture that is called understanding artists and marketings, which elevates the social standards. Women's Federation has provided food for our numerous wonderful children, and we also educate about English. Well, it is very important to know that providing food assistance to those suffering from hunger won't solve the problem. We must educate them, and also we also train them if it's insufficient. We also provide opportunity for women to receive benefits, acquire skills through vocational schools, classes, so that they can gain time spread and learn. It also provides labor requirements and credit ones for women, donors, Africa, and Islamic regions, so they can start their own business. This is that in its use other skills we can acquire. In order to see and handle what's in the podcast, it is important to be product out. We offer literacy studies for the movement about women to product need by output. The talk of this in a conference is also image that I need opinions because opinions are more vital than resilience. I want to share that how we can country where I from. What number? flexible, and continue to go with me is so hard thus. Yes, it is. Once let it go. Mark 13 and verse with 13 years close to good perfect. And you always turned when it was on one. And that earthquake devastated country. Each year, there are 2,500 earthquakes. Japan is a small country, but 19% of the world's earthquakes of a magnitude of 6 or greater or extreme. And students of the world's activity of a planet. In addition, Japan accounts for 80% of all damage caused by disasters worldwide. Thus, Japan is one of the countries in the world suffering from the highest percentage of natural disasters. This is the reality that can be avoided. After Japan's natural disaster prone state, Japan social resilience became a very popular term. Despite this adversity, Japan has demonstrated remarkable resilience to natural disasters. Until the 1950s, the amount of people lost in a single typhoon or earthquake exceeded 5,000. Today, the number of deaths and missing persons does not exceed 1,000, after the construction of buildings and technological advances against earthquake. The Japanese government took preventive step aim, which is strengthening social resilience to disasters from the governmental level to the local community. By providing education, raising awareness, liveliness, and infrastructure support, we can make a difference to human security regardless of differences in race, religion, or nationality. In order to avoid conflicts and bring peace in our community, society, and world, we must actively seek out common interests. A grand example being the SDGs in our top 17 goals created by the UN. By striving to contribute to the SDGs despite our differences, and can come together towards a common goal. We realize we must work together to realize this vision. These examples underline the urgent need to spread the concept of protecting common interest. To anyone who does not realize its importance for mass study and resilient world. We've had enough conflicts. We've suffered enough. So let's work together to bring peace in our society and the world. Let us be the catalyst to bring food to the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Mori. That was an informational, very practical and informative opening address. Thank you so much. For the next part, I would like to call on Ambassador Vivian Okeke for an exciting and inspirational message. But first, I'd like to introduce her. Her Excellency Ambassador Vivian Okeke is a representative of the Director General of the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency to the United Nations, and Director of the IAEA Liaison Office in New York. She served as the Deputy Director in charge of the First Committee at the First United Nations Division at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja, where she championed the responsibilities of nuclear disarmament, chemical weapons convention, biological weapons convention, and other weapons of mass destruction. Ambassador Vivian Okeke has also served as Political Affairs Officer at the Nigerian Embassy in Brussels, Belgium, Head of Chancery at the Consulate General of Nigeria in New York,
as well as Minister in charge of Trade and Investment at the Embassy of Nigeria in Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Ambassador Viviana.
Thank you, Melanie. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies on the panel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be invited to speak and share with such distinguished panelists my experiences. Thank you, women, WFWP, for this invitation. The title of the event, and particularly the word nourishing, which is what we can relate to as women, as mothers whose role is to nurture. The CSW session is the United Nations largest gathering on gender equality and women's empowerment. Leaders from across the world, from government, civil society, organizations, experts, activists, are gathered at the UN headquarters once again to take stock of progress on gender equality and women empowerment and note the challenges and provide solutions. This is what we are doing today. According to the data which I obtained from the CSW website, 10.3% of women live in extreme poverty. I've added Millie's indicators that say that 70% of world poor are women. 70% of the world poor are women, from what you just said. $360 billion are needed per year to achieve gender equality and women's empowerment across key global goals, including to end poverty and hunger. 1 in 5 Africans go to sleep without a meal, even when the continent has 60% of world arable land. Global food security is under threat because of several factors, which is extreme weather patterns as a result of climate change, conflicts and economic shocks, and now I'm being exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. So what do we do? In the area of food security, in line of primary commodity prices, creating opportunities to add value to primary commodities so that we can earn more. The use of science and technology to ensure better and higher harvest, improve shelf life of agri-products. In this area, I want to share the experience that the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is a UN organization that is mandated to maintain peace and security, ensure that the nuclear weapons are not owned by countries. But the other side of the coin is that they are also mandated to ensure the peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology. And the IAEA has been established in 1957, and in this area was using peaceful techniques, nuclear-derived techniques, to ensure in the area of agriculture that there is food security. They're using irrigated technology to irrigate seeds that can help to give higher yields for our farmers. During the CSW68 session, we invited Zimbabwe farmers to share experience of how they have used irrigated cowpeas seedlings to have higher yield in their harvest, and through having a higher yield to earn more and use that to pay their children's school fees. So it's like a trickle-down effect for them. This is a technology that IAEA, through its technical cooperation program, has been able to help countries. We are now a membership of 173 members, and mostly the countries in Africa use these techniques to help to address the adverse effects of climate change. By helping with nuclear techniques to produce seedlings that are drought resistant, that can yield better even when they don't have plenty of rainfall. So this is the area that the IAEA is working to change, helping women farmers, especially rural farmers who are women, to earn more, to have higher yield. And on the area of economic empowerment, it is important to invest in women. Some social and cultural practices, we have prominence given to male child, and the girl child is married off at a very young age. This must stop. It is our duty to advocate for this to stop, because when women are educated, they are able to obtain the skills needed to get jobs and maintain jobs. We also, at the IAEA, are knowing that the area is a highly technical area, so the agency has been able to provide scholarships to women in order to close the gender gap in the area of science and technology and related areas. As we speak, we have about 560 fellows who have been given scholarships to study in about 54 countries, to study in the area of nuclear science and technology, nuclear physics, mathematics, nuclear non-proliferation, and also in area of nuclear medicine. Because as you know, the IAEA is also using the peaceful uses of nuclear technology to advance treatment in cancer care. The radiotherapy machines that they use for cancer care is a nuclear-derived equipment. And so, we are advocating that education in every sector must be advanced in order for women to have the economic empowerment, so maintain jobs, get jobs, and advance economically. We also talk about equal pay for equal work. We know that women are disproportionately paid in where they work, and this is one of the areas to advocate that women get paid equally, they do equal work with men. That will help for economic development. Access to finance for women entrepreneurs is also very important, that women are given access to finance for those who want to have businesses to do. I'm happy to hear from the President that you are giving finance, microfinance to women to help them in their economic ventures. That is very important. Education and employment of women will help to alleviate poverty, to end the vicious cycle of poverty, because an educated mother will ensure that her children also get an education and do better than they did. I am a product of education championed by a mother. I want to share my story that I'm the first ambassador from my community. And I couldn't have attained that position if I didn't get education. When I finished high school, I went home to my father to ask for, I got admitted to college for school fees to go to college. And he told me that he didn't have the money for it, that I should, that pastoral care vision of that is the boys that should be trained beyond secondary school, and the girls should move for a job. That was my response. But my mother, being her small trading, she's illiterate. She wanted to go to school, but she couldn't, and she was married off. She determined that all her girl children should be educated. So doing small trading, buying and selling foodstuffs, she was able to save enough money. And I still recall vividly that early in the morning, the next day, she woke me up by 5 a.m., unwrapped a parcel of money that she tied in a wrapper and gave it to me. I said, you go and register for your college education. And today, without that education, I wouldn't have joined the Nigerian Foreign Service. I wouldn't have been able to rise to the level that I did and was appointed the Nigerian ambassador to Austria and Slovak Republic. So education is very important, and having mothers who cherish and value education, who pushes their children, is very important. So I want to share that we need to invest in our women for economic empowerment. Finally, we must not stop advocating to help one another. So each one teach one, pay it forward. Many of the milestones we see at the Beijing Women Conference, and by the way, I was a member of the Nigerian delegation to the Beijing Women's Conference. I can proudly say that. And so when I invented the milestones we got at the Beijing Women Conference, I invented the reverse. We must not rest on our laurels. We must continue to push and advocate and be the voice for the voiceless. I thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Jan.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Okeko. It's truly inspiring and inspirational. Your lifelong support to women, girls' education is bearing fruit. And here in this room, we are truly inspired. And when we hear about nuclear, the word nuclear, we always think of war and weapons and danger. But there is this less talked about other side of the coin, atoms for peace. And when I heard about the work of UNIAEA, I said, I gotta get in touch with Ambassador Okeke, and I am so grateful she's here with us today. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. Next, I'd like to call on, we are receiving a video message from the current Senator of the Republic of the Philippines. She is also another champion of women and environment in the Philippines, Honorable Senator Lauren Legarda. I'd like to introduce her. Honorable Lauren Legarda is a Filipina politician, environmentalist, cultural worker, and former journalist who is currently serving as a senator and the incumbent president pro tempore of the Senate of the Philippines since 2022. This also makes her the first woman to serve as Senate President pro tempore in the upper chamber history. Honorable Legarda is the longest-serving female senator in the history of the Senate and the only female in the Philippines to top two senatorial elections in 1998 and 2007. So let's hear from the inspiring message of Senator Legarda.
Every March, we mark how far we've come in ensuring women's rights, opportunities, and freedoms. We hope to share strategies and be a model for other countries as we celebrate our rank of 16th of 146 in the 2023 Gender Gap Index of the World Economic Forum. Quite apart from the higher vulnerability of women in crisis situations, they also have unique capabilities in finding ways to survive them and in delivering palpable results. These vulnerabilities and the development of the ability to overcome them are two sides of a coin. Empowering women is not an attempt to transfer power from men to women. It is not about one gender gaining power from another. Rather, it is recognizing the strength and resilience of women who are able to transform crisis into opportunity, adversity into capacity. It is to recognize the value of women who, armed with empathy, gentleness, inclusion, and community, do not only survive, but thrive. Women draw from deep wells of wisdom from the generations of women before them who have built, nurtured, and protected earth and home. It is seeing how ours is a battle that should not be fought by men or by women alone. Ours is a future that needs the collective, masculine and feminine, to recognize that we are on the same boat, the same humanity, the same planet. When we do, our collective strength shall be a force to reckon with. There is an old African saying, and I quote, "If you educate a boy, you train a man. If you educate a girl, you train a village." Because when women are given the opportunities, the opening to take hold of the power they already have, these are what cause the sea changes we need, the transformational shifts to society that are so critical in facing climate change and biodiversity loss. As women nurture their young, they become more acutely aware, perhaps even at a cellular level, of the changing risks and challenges faced by the family, and respond in a way that they know best, not in competition, but in cooperation, not in a winner-take-all, but in a sharing economy. There is a Filipino myth that tells the story of Mayari, the goddess of the moon and the daughter of the creator god Bathala. Mayari is a goddess of revolutions, beauty, strength, and the night. She is also the symbol of inner strength and compassion, synonymous with a Filipino woman. In one myth, Mayari and her brother, Apolaki, fought for the right to rule the earth. At the end of this battle, Mayari and Apolaki agreed to rule the earth together. Apolaki during the day, Mayari at night. I tell you this story because perhaps we can change our leadership narrative as well, honing of the distinct aptitude and capacities of women and of men. We can lead together as day and night, and our symbiosis can reimagine a better world. As we move towards the Sustainable Development Goals, we can reconsider the phrase women empowerment as connoting that the power has to be taken from somewhere else, that there is an inherent weakness in the gender, and that there is a need to take power from the stronger gender. Instead, we can take power from our own assets and generate power from within. Sylvia Plath once said, and I quote, "We shall by morning inherit the earth, our foot's in the door," unquote. We have indeed come a long way, but we cannot keep counting our laurels year after year and not challenge the very foundations of women's movement and the consequent failure to take our own talents and gifts into account. These differences, the talents and gifts, might conceivably not make us equal but better adapted at facing the multiple crises that our planet is facing. I hope that with greater strides towards gender equality, a change of mindset, and a shift in narrative, we can, by morning, indeed inherit the earth. Thank you, mabuhay, isang lunti ang Pilipinas sa ating lahat.
Wow. Thank you so much, Senator Lugara. It's amazing how you introduce this new leadership paradigm, the partnership and cooperation of man and woman, emphasizing the strength of each other. And that is powerful. That is truly powerful. Thank you so much. Our next speaker, I would like to introduce a really dear friend of mine. I call her the goddess of partnership and service in the Philippines. Her organization is also the co-organizer of this parallel event. Her name is Micah Teves. I'd like to introduce her. She is an AV political science graduate and has a Juris Doctor law degree. She is an alumnus of the International Visitors Leadership Program. Ms. Micah Teves was recognized on the Leading Light Kindness and Leadership list by the British High Commission. She is the Executive Director of Spark Philippines and represents the women's sector in the Philippine Development Council. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Micah Teves.
Let's connect to our partners, special guest for gender equality. Stay called with progressive and equal society. Good afternoon. One of the things that before you a topic that was in fact partnership for financing. To be quite honest, I am not very confident speaking in front of but I know why Merle had asked me. I lead a very, very small organization in the Philippines. But I'm also very proud to lead that organization because I'd also like to say we're the most passionate. We work with the implementing partner of the U.S. Embassy, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and all of Europe. And there are different partners in the private sector. For this, if you don't mind, I prepared a presentation, so I'd like to show them the lights. Thank you. First, let me discuss why it is important and what is important. It is undeniable that effective partnerships are essential for addressing complex societal problems. Though women have made great strides in advancing gender equality and progressing women's rights, it is evidently that there is no single entity that can address poverty and inequality alone. Creating genuine gender equality requires diverse stakeholders, including governments, private sectors, and communities, to leverage on meaningful collaboration and lasting impacts. Historically, women have been discouraged from participating in any economic activities and were expected to focus on their roles at home rather than to pursue careers. But studies have shown that when women are held back from contributing to the economy, everyone suffers, their family and the community. When women don't have the opportunities to earn their own income, they're more likely to experience poverty. One of the key ways to gain this understanding is community assessment. This involves stepping back from our roles as experts and actively listening to the voices and experiences of women within the community. It helps us to understand the intersectionality of women's identities and experiences, including factors such as race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and geographic location, which influence their access to resources and opportunities. Band-aid solutions, also known as quick fixes or short-term remedies, refer to temporary measures that address the symptoms of a problem rather than the root causes. While Band-aid solutions may provide immediate relief or mitigate the effects of a problem in the short term, they often fail to produce lasting or sustainable change. One of the main drawbacks of Band-aid solutions is their limited scope and impact. By focusing solely on surface-level symptoms, these solutions overlook the underlying systemic issues that perpetuate the problem. As a result, they may provide only temporary relief without addressing the fundamental factors that are contributing to the problem. How we approach a problem is through problem-driven partnerships.
It offers a strategic and collaborative framework for addressing complex issues. They recognize that true change takes time and requires a concerted effort from all stakeholders involved. Problem-driven partnerships hold the potential to drive meaningful and lasting impact in our communities and beyond. I would like to share 4 best practices for problem-driven partnership for financing. The first is holistic approach, innovative solutions, knowledge sharing, and community engagement. The holistic approach in a problem-driven partnership means that all aspects of the issue are taken into account in order to find a comprehensive solution. And the goal with this approach is to create an environment in which women from grassroots communities can develop their potential, lead, and create their lives according to their needs and interests. So instead of focusing on just the financial aspects, they consider the broader context and underlying reasons contributing to the issue. The second is innovative solutions. Problem-driven partnerships embrace innovation and creativity in finding solutions to complex challenges. They recognize that traditional approaches may not always be effective, and we're often to exploring new ideas, technologies, and methodologies. For example, in the realm of financing for women entrepreneurs, innovative solutions could include the use of digital platforms for access to financial services, crowdfunding, campaigns tailored to women-owned businesses, or impact investment models that prioritize social and environmental outcomes alongside financial returns. The third is knowledge sharing. Knowledge sharing is a fundamental aspect of a problem-driven partnership. These partnerships prioritize open communication channels and encourage the exchange of insights and experiences among stakeholders. For instance, in the context of financing initiatives for women entrepreneurs, knowledge sharing could involve sharing case studies, success stories, and lessons learned from previous projects or programs. The third is community engagement. Community engagement is essential for the success and sustainability of problem-driven partnerships. This actively involves local communities and stakeholders in the decision-making process, ensuring that solutions are relevant, sustainable, and inclusive. By involving communities in shaping interventions, problem-driven partnerships can build trust, foster ownership, and ensure that solutions are tailored to the unique context and circumstances of the communities they serve. I would like to share our story at Spark. I come here to New York, but really the communities that we at Spark serve are those who are marginalized, low-income, and far-flung communities. We are an NGO and an alliance of women who work on the advancement of gender and development. We achieve this by providing projects, programs, and initiatives focused on 3 pillars, which is women's economic empowerment, girls' rights and education, and gender and development. We partner with local government units, national government, diplomatic missions, and civil society organizations. Last year, I'm very proud to say that we had an overall reach of over 7,500 direct beneficiaries. I would like to talk about our Women's Economic Empowerment Program. Here is a slide of our list of initiatives when we talk about innovation. Our focus last year was mainly on women from challenging backgrounds or women in especially difficult situations, or WEDS. WEDS refer to victims and survivors of sexual and physical violence, illegal recruitment, sexual exploitation and trafficking, armed conflict, former and current women in detention, and other related circumstances which have incapacitated them functionally. Now let's delve into our current programs. Our first is our Airbnb Entrepreneurship Academy, which we are the partners of Airbnb in the Philippines. This program is in collaboration with the Quezon City government. This equips our participants with essential skills for tourism related industries. This spans customer service, communication, cultural sensitivity, hospitality, and business etiquette. The Academy aims to generate employment opportunities by connecting women, leaders and businesses, industry associations, and stakeholders. The second is the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, where we have been the partners for the U.S. State Department for the past 6 years. The Academy provides enterprising women with the knowledge, networks, and access they need to launch and scale successful businesses by promoting women's economic empowerment opportunities and ensuring they have the capabilities and resources required to participate in the economy. This next project was when it was first, we were first asked to implement it for them. Two things, beauty and technology. Admittedly, both things I am not an expert. This is our partnership with L'Oreal, and I'm very proud to say that globally, we are the first partner for the Digital Beauty Academy. The Academy empowers students to become responsible content creators, which we partnered with TikTok, while providing livelihood opportunities through training and workshops, focus on social media, best practices, financial literacy, and mental health. One story I can share with you is we have one woman who was earning 18,000 pesos a month. Another 3, and she had to work. One of the reasons why she's very happy about this program is that she's now earning 148,000 a month, and she stays at home, spending time with her children. And she's one of our 26 beneficiaries for the Digital Beauty Academy. This year, L'Oreal has tasked us to now have 3,000 plus graduates. And the next is a passion project that we did. It's called How to Tote. This aims to address the significant waste generated during the 2022 elections in our country. We repurposed and upcycled used tarpaulins. These tarpaulins often contain toxins like cadmium, posing environmental risks if not properly disposed. Our goal was to collect tarpaulins and make 300 bags, and hoping that our women would earn from it. The process is our partners at the Quezon City government collect the tarpaulins, we bring it to the Quezon City jail, wherein our women, persons deprived of liberty, clean it and cut it. It's then brought to our community of artisans in Bulacan, in the north of the Philippines, wherein they paint the tarpaulins. After they paint the tarpaulins, this is brought back to our senior citizen group in Barangay Peñahan, Quezon City. Our community, they're 70 years old and above. And we're very proud because from a goal to sell 300 bags, we've now sold more than 10,000 pieces. Our beneficiaries include diverse tribal communities from various backgrounds, including women in detention. Since in 2020, like many of you, or maybe none of you, but just myself, went through a difficult situation during the pandemic, being in lockdown. And that is when I started working with the persons deprived of liberty in the Quezon City jail. I'm very proud to say that we provide them continuing education, livelihood opportunities, health programs. And we at Spark are very proud to which last year I was recognized by the French Ministry for our work in human rights. All these projects, our bigger goal was to redefine what it means to be a woman, to understand the intersecting needs of women from different backgrounds, to challenge on-ground stereotypes on women in a community level, and to have a platform for marginalized voices. I'd like to show you a video showcasing one of our success stories from our Academy of Women Entrepreneurs Philippines. which was funded by the New Zealand Monastery. Anyway, just to talk about Leia's story. So, this is a story of Leia. We did a training in February of 2020 in the province of Bohol. Leia was an entrepreneur who he had helped scale up her businesses. She sold undergarments and her business was doing very well. But of course, during the pandemic, nobody was buying undergarments. And she had to pivot her business. So we had given them financial support. I think what I wanted to highlight with that video was that Leia's journey, not just partnership for financing, but it had to go beyond mere financial support. It's about expanding the landscape of women's opportunities and empowering them to make choices that resonate with their unique circumstances. So it's very important to tailor programs that cater to specific needs. I just want to share a story. You know, when I attended a training with you last Sunday, when the topic was on how to build partnerships and it reminded me of me in 2016. When I first started in the development field, Spark Philippines had one partner, we had one funder. And I felt it wasn't enough, especially because I'm not a development worker by profession. I used to work in Congress and the Senate. I'm a political strategist. But I met Victoria Garchitorena, who is our chairperson, who completely changed my life, who told me that she felt I was meant for development work. In 2017, I knew I wanted to have more partners. I would go to every activity. And we call it in Filipino, may pahunan, but basically my investment was calling cards and saliva, meaning I go to every event and I start in the left side of the room and I continually talk to give my calling card to whoever to talk about Spark. And I reach all the way to the left. And after they give me their calling card, the next day, I would email. Rejection after rejection. It wasn't easy. But 2018, I started getting emails that, Micah, I remember you, our organization is now going to do programs for women and diversity. Do you think we could meet? And 2018 was the start of creating new partnerships. And I think by 2019, we've really been established. So 2020 was very difficult when programs were halted, postponed, some have been taken back, even though we signed contracts. Because of course, their ministry needed, to use that money for purposes for COVID. But I think one lesson that I want to teach all of you, not teach, but to share, to impart with you, is the importance of just trying. Don't forget your core, the communities you serve. I'm just grateful to be here. I thank all of you for listening to me during this time. I just want to say thank you, maraming salamat, and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Martha. Certainly, all of us can learn from you at work that you are doing in the Philippines, especially empowering the marginalized women in the Philippines, especially those with very difficult, challenging situations. So thank you so much for your efforts. Next on our program, we would like to call on Honorable Denise Wilkerson. She is a believer, mother, grandmother, author, elected official, women's advocate, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur. As an elected official, Denise currently serves as the councilwoman at large in Roselle, New Jersey, and has previously served as council president for 4 years. She is the chair of the Redevelopment Committee and a key member of the Finance, Recreation, and Cannabis Committees. Let's welcome Honorable Denise Wilkerson. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you cut the lights for me? All right.
You can see the screen, guys? All right. So we're here to have a conversation today about economic development. And if you see on the screen, you'll see where it says women, the catalyst for economic development. And I believe that is the case globally. But I do think there needs to be an adjustment to how we look at getting there. And you'll see that subline that says the impact we make on our communities, individual communities, can change the world. How many of you believe that? I think sometimes we jump into a global space and we forget to change the world around us. If you can get to the next slide, we can skip that, but go back for 1 second. There's one thing I want to say on this slide because you did a great job, so you helped me, so thank you, is that I believe that I have the power to change the world. How many of you believe that you have the power to change the world? Oh, good, so I don't have to press it upon you later. I will anyway for those that didn't raise your hand. Go ahead to the next one. All right, I'm going to try to read my own slides. But I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page about economic development and what it really means, right? It's a word that's used and overused, and sometimes when you do that, you muddy the water and you forget what the focus is. And so economic development is the process of creating wealth, improving economic well-being, and increasing living standards for all, not some, for all members within a community or a society. And when you see that process being played out and played out well, what you will see is entrepreneurship being supported by those communities. You'll see that job creation is happening on a consistent, intentional basis. You'll see that increased affordable housing. How can you really think about growing when you don't know where to lay your head at night? Infrastructure improvements are constantly being thought about. In my town, I have to think about not only, solving flooding problems, but making sure there's transportation for people to get to areas of opportunity. Accessibility to quality education. Right here in the U.S., many don't have access to quality education. There is segregation in our education system, and a lot of people don't get a starting chance. Income equality. Listen, I'm a firm believer, pay me for the work. And I believe that women, we know that how many of you believe that we do the job just as well, if not better? No, oh my God, ladies, what is going on? I'm going to say that one more time. How many of you believe that we do the job just as well, if not better? Yes, come on. Let's go to the next slide. So how do we get to the place where we're really working a process that, inspires or sparks economic development? Women. That's the answer. Let's get to the next slide. Why? Listen, I'm a mother and a grandmother, you heard that. And so I know that women, we are running households. And let me tell you something about when you're running a household. There are multiple personalities. Everybody thinks they're important. But yet somehow women are capable of making each and every person in that household feel like they belong, feel like their contributions matter, and to give them the inspiration to live their best lives. And so we're coming to business with a different perspective. We're coming into business to bring unique experiences, ideas, and approaches. No offense, man, we're glad you're in the room. We prioritize community needs, right? And social welfare, because why? We're mothers and we know that every family deserves a fighting chance. We adopt and participate. We actually try to increase participation in collaborative workspaces when we're in leadership, because we know that the different perspective and ideas really make a difference. And women in leadership positions, I'm going to shock you with this. Women help women. There's a lot of chatter you see sometimes on social media where women just can't get along. It is really not true. There are so many amazing women that really, when they get into positions of power, inspire and support the growth of other women. Let's give that a round of applause. I want to make sure you're here with me. All right, let's go to the next slide. Women have always been drivers of economic development for generations. Before access to innovation through technology, before access to education, women have been driving economic development for generations. And I'm going to share something with you. You can go to the next slide. These amazing women, not self-promoting myself, but the others there, are women that were catalysts for economic development. We talked about it. Sometimes we think globally and we forget to change the world around us. The first woman is Elder Mary Benjamin, and she was, a housewife. She had, we'll get into her story a little bit later, but she's a church pastor. She was an activist, and she also was the matriarch of my family. On the right of her is my mother. And that's, I get a little emotional. My mother just passed in September, but she was an amazing woman. She was an entrepreneur. She invested in real estate and really changed the lives of people around her. You see myself here, I'm an entrepreneur, a community activist, a government official. And on the right, you see my niece, Dr. Janae Chandler. We call her Dea. But she is an advocate for education and access to education and strong positive outcomes for those that go through educational systems. If you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So my grandmother was a sharecropper with very little opportunity. So after slavery, people were sharecropping. You would live on the land, and you would work that land. You don't get paid, long hours, all that stuff. And there really wasn't access to opportunities. Do you know she was a wife, and she had 18 children? Can you believe it? 8 years around the I'm dying after my chill. And she preached the gospel of Jesus. She was really excited about her work in the Lord. And I think I want to share that because that's where passion comes into how you start changing the world around you. And she ended up to be a divorced woman with 18 children. Can you believe that? But she stayed motivated and decided to take that passion and start a church. So she started a church. She gave many people hope for a better life, even though hers was a struggle. She self-funded many church initiatives. She used her domestic skills to raise money. She's the first example that I had crowdsourcing. She was a great cook. Her nickname was Big Mama. My cousin Lamar, raise your hand, Lamar. Right? Was it Big Mama, right? So Big Mama was her name, and she would cook dinners. And she would sell dinners to the church. And one of her projects, she raised over $100,000 cooking dinners and selling them out in the community. Give that a round of applause. We've got to get creative. Funding may never arrive. And as the matriarch of the family, I think the most important thing is that she created and raised a generation of empowered women. Women who knew that despite the lack of resources, we had the ability to change the world around us. Next slide. We'll try to get through these quickly. This is my mom. She only had a grade school education, so that's no high school, that's no college, none of that. But let me tell you, she knew how to count money. I could tell you that. And so she was a stay-at-home mom initially, with 5 kids. So generationally, we're reducing our numbers. With 5 kids, and she was in an abusive relationship with my father. And so who I love dearly, but what she did was she fled with to the north and started her life over. And she went and she was humble enough to work in a grocery store. She saved all of her money. And when that grocery store came up for sale, she bought the grocery store. Then she bought the building that the grocery store was in. And then she bought other real estate properties, really increasing her portfolio. And she went on to employ dozens of people, provide affordable housing for over 80 families, supported entrepreneurs. I have an aunt, and I'll quickly share this. She started a substance abuse and mental health organization, helping thousands of people. Her son is driving that business today, Lamar. And when she first started, she came to my mother and she said, I want to do this business, but I don't have money for a storefront. My mother said, you know what, you take that storefront. It was her sister. And she said, you don't have to pay anything. When you feel you're ready to start paying rent, then you do that. And because she supported the growth of another woman, thousands were able to get their lives back on track, okay? And she financed the dreams of her loved ones, paid for down payments for house. That's how I got my down payment for my first house. Go ahead to the next slide. And this is the girl you know, hopefully in love. So I was a teenage mother, but a teenage mother with hope. I had my first child at 19 years old. And people were saying, listen, your life is over. I remember there was a time when I had the kid, I was so scared. I said, well, I guess I can do hair or, I don't know. I really was hopeless kind of in the sense of what my job opportunities were. But God is always in control. I ended up being the top African-American executive in an organization in the PR industry. Started up from the bottom, traveled the world for that organization to represent them. I started my own PR firm I started in 2015, but I left the corporate environment completely to go on my own in 2017. And then I said, you know what? I want to do more. What else can I do to support? And I felt like, there were so many women who poured into my life. How many of you have other women who have poured into your lives? And so I wanted to give back to them. So I started inspiring thousands of women through my empowerment conferences. And of course, I'm always fighting for the rights of women, the right to love who we choose to love, the right to make decisions on our body, and the right to demand and the fight to make sure that we get equal pay. Government official, I am now the mother of the granddaughter of that sharecropper is now responsible for 22,000 people and creating economic development and growth for that community. And I employ over 300 people in that government sector. Let's give that a round of applause. That's change. That is change. Yes. All right. Let's go through this really quickly. And this is my niece, Janae. And she's a wife, a mother. She has a PhD degree. See how the educational levels have changed. She's done research and development on minority students. And the main point here is the work is going to create policy through government to strengthen the outcomes for those who go through college, especially minorities, is changing the lives of millions of students. Now, one quick thing, and then I'm going to sit down. How many of you, what do you think is the reason why people don't succeed? Tell me. Anybody? Self-doubt. Girl, you my girl. What's your name? Young good. Okay, you see what I'm saying? That is it. The lack of belief in your ability to change the world, to grow, to live your best life. And if I did anything or nothing else today, I hope I've inspired you to believe. How many of you believe? Yes. So I'm going to test this out. So repeat after me. I believe that I have the catalyst for economic development. I believe I have the power to change the world. Wow. Thank you very much, Honorable Denise Wilkerson. Yes, I believe that I have the power to change the world. That was one powerful life testimony. 3 generations of powerful women who overcame obstacles, all obstacles that you can imagine. Thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your story with us. I wish that we have all day to talk about our wonderful, amazing, powerful lives, but we only have about 10 to 12 minutes more to go. Yes, that's how wonderful and interesting our topic today is. And I'd like to give the space to our sister who traveled all the way from Nigeria. Miss Simbo Sojenwen is a seasoned social entrepreneur and activist, passionate about fighting for women's economic empowerment issues, along with eradicating energy, poverty, and climate environmental issues. With 15 plus years of proven success in leading global strategies, building and maintaining innovative partnerships, and engaging stakeholders, she is the Chief Operating Officer of Solar Sister, where she leads a network of women entrepreneurs distributing clean solar energy products in underserved communities across Nigeria, Tanzania, and Kenya. Simbo is the current president of the Women's Consortium of Nigeria, WOCON, and they are also the co-organizer of our event today. Let's welcome Ms. Simbo Sojenwen.
Thank you so much. I don't know how I can go after Honorable Wilkerson, but I'm going to try. And I'm also going to be really fast because I know that we're running out of time and would really like to engage with the audience today. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for inviting me, or thank you for being part of this today. So for me, I'll go right into it. And I'm so happy today that we've heard about generations of women helping other women. And WOCON actually was started by my mom, late DC Alatera Lagbegi. And incidentally, just like Ambassador, she was at the very first conference, women's conference in Beijing. And right after she came back, she was part of the Nigerian delegation as well. She started the Women's Consortium of Nigeria in 1995. And I was the first youth director. And that was really how my world in social development started. And then I'll talk a little bit about Solar Sister. So Solar Sister is a network of women entrepreneurs, and we are distributing clean energy services to underserved communities in Africa. Specifically, we started in Uganda, we're in Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, and now Kenya. And just last year, we reached our 10,000th women entrepreneur. We've been able to reach 4.7 million beneficiaries with clean energy products. And mitigated over 1.6 million CO2. So, and for climate relevance, that's about 2 million acres of forest in the US. So that's a lot of trees. So I wouldn't read through the stats, but I just wanted to touch a little bit of energy poverty because I know today our topic talks about climate resilience, but I think it's important that we understand as well. We know that 70% of the world is of the world's poor are women, but this statistic is also the same for energy poverty as well. And energy poverty is really just the lack of access to modern electricity or people being connected to the national grid. And we find that Sub-Saharan Africa has the highest number of people who are actually living with energy poverty. And it means that they can't do simple tasks like just cooking food over clean energy, or even just their children having access to clean energy and being able to study at night. And I think that's where the vision of Solar Sister was born. It's because women really are disproportionately affected by change. And if you look at girls, women, especially young girls, we find that a lot of our African societies, where the girls in the house are responsible for the chores, the women are responsible for household activities. And so this usually retards a lot of them, and as we heard the ambassador also say, there's this view of, when a woman gets to a certain age, she should be married or for the men should continue. So we find that a lot of our women and girls are really subject to this economic retardation. We've also seen the effect on education as well. So a lot of these communities that are not connected to the national grid, once it's 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., there's darkness everywhere. And they're probably, the only thing they have for lighting, maybe it's a candle or a kerosene lantern. And if anyone has studied with any of these things, it's really difficult. There's a lot of smoke going into your eyes, but the illumination is really bad. And so we've seen that has really affected a lot of the education of people who live in areas where there's energy poverty. And so I think that all these are the reasons why Solar Sister exists. So Solar Sister is bringing this network of women to say, look, we're no longer going to be at the brunt of energy poverty. We're going to start a movement and we're going to be the solution. So we're going to turn this on its head, and rather than saying, oh, women are victims, no, women are now the solution providers. So yes, we are the catalyst for economic development, and we're providing this opportunity, which is entrepreneurship. It's an economic opportunity. There's training involved. There's technology, which is clean energy products, and there's also business support. Next slide. Okay. Just to touch on a little bit of the impacts, and a lot of people might already know this. So, of course, there's income and autonomy from entrepreneurship once you're doing a business. But beyond that, we found business skills, improved women's leadership, even just being able to communicate better, sell their products. We've seen this improvements in the lives of the women. We've also seen increased community safety. So we know that there's a relationship between illumination and safety. A lot of crimes happen in the dark. So when there's light, we've seen that there's an increased link to safety. We've seen improved outcomes in children's education and the communities where the Solar Sister entrepreneurs are. And we've also seen sisterhood and support. So part of why we're called Solar Sister is because it is a sisterhood. It's beyond just doing a business, but it's also holding each other accountable, sharing experiences, peer support, peer learning, and that's really where the sisterhood comes in. So I wanted to also bring our Solar Sister entrepreneurs into the room, and I'll bring 3 different women. So I'll start with Nambet. Nambet is a young woman. She's a single mother of 5. She's also a farmer. And now, as a Solar Sister, she's a clean energy entrepreneur. With her business, she can grow more, feed her children. She has 5 children. She's under 30. She has used the profits to pay the fertilizers and laborers of her farm, and she sent her children to school. She's from Plateau State, which is in northern Nigeria. And I'll also share about Mrs. Abiola Ige. She's a teacher. She's a science teacher. She's really enthusiastic about both solar. She's also very enthusiastic about women's empowerment. She's one who not just is an entrepreneur, but her daughter is also a Solar Sister entrepreneur and is distributing clean energy products in her university right now. And then lastly, she's from the west of Nigeria, from Oyo State, Southwest. And then there's Mrs. Eukaria, who's a grandma. The grandmother, she's a clean energy entrepreneur. She's from Enugu, which is the eastern part of Nigeria. And she makes this difference by selling these lights as well. She's retired, and this is what she does with her time now. And she's part of this movement. All the Solar Sisters are part of this movement to create a clean energy revolution in Africa. That's the goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sundong. One thing that I really like about CSW parallel events is you learn a lot of the best practices of what our women leaders in the field are doing, and they're very hopeful. We can learn from them and they can be replicated. And what such great example we have today. Once again, let us give a round of applause to Ms. Symbol for that amazing, empowering Solar Sisters. Wonderful, thank you. So, okay, we're just right about, 3 o'clock, but
My apologies to everyone. We don't have time for Q&A. Yes, but before we close, we still have our closing, but we cannot close this event without recognizing the efforts of these great women leaders who trailblazed and who are doing a lot of work, who went beyond the bridges of challenges and be the light of hope for everyone. So yes, I would like to call on the honorable women that Women's Federation for World Peace International would like to bestow the Global Women Peace Ambassador Award. And yes, our first awardee is Her Excellency Ambassador Vivian Okeke. And I would like to read and the director of our UN offices, Ms. Carolyn Hanshin, who stand at the middle, please. And while I read the citation, Global Women Peace Award, Ambassador Award is bestowed upon Her Excellency Ambassador Vivian Okeke. On behalf of the co-founders, Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, is proud to recognize the awardee as a Global Women Peace Ambassador based on their exemplary accomplishment in the area of women leadership and education. Global Women Peace Ambassadors are peace leaders representing the religious, racial, and ethnic diversity of the human family and all disciples of human endeavor. They stand on the common ground of shared values and are committed to the path of promoting reconciliation, overcoming barriers, and building peace. Signed, Moriko Hori, President, WFWP International, and yours truly, Marley Baran, Director, WFWP Office for UN Relations, New York.
Actually, it's also a bit, because it's better if it's called mother of pearl lacquerware. This is a handcrafted traditional handcraft from Korea.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is a great honor to receive this Global Women Peace Ambassador. I want to let you know that I will cherish it, and I will, like I said in my speech, that we women should bond together and work to help each other. So consider me and your ambassador from the part of the world where I come from, Nigeria and Africa, that we need to work together to do more. There's so much challenges, and I'm very delighted to be part of your team. Thank you very much.
Our next awardee with the same citation is Honorable Denise Wilkerson.
Good.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. And our next awardee is Miss Micah Teves. Thank you. Congratulations. And Ms. Simbo Sojourn. Thank you. So one more time,
let's give all of them a big round of applause. Such amazing day to recognize the efforts of all the women who worked so hard to empower women, girls, and promote world peace in this world. Okay, before I call on our closing remark, I just want to recognize someone who is a very important person who came here. We just met just today, actually, but just by messaging as she came. She is the chairperson of the National Commission of Indigenous People in the Philippines, representing the government of the Philippines. And Bai Limpayan Jennifer Sibuglas is here with us, and I just would like to recommend to recognize her presence, and thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. And for another announcement for IAEA, we have a side event on Thursday at 10 a.m. It is on the CSW68 website. It is co-organized by the mission of Malta, Qatar, Gambia, and the IAEA. So please, 10 a.m. on Thursday. Yes, I will be there. Thank you very much. So for our closing, sorry? I'm sorry? Venue. Oh, venue, it is inside. Is it inside or not? Virtual, it's virtual. Just link, yes. For our closing remarks, I'd like to call on the director of WFWPI's offices for UN Relations and the president of the NGO CSW in Geneva, Carolyn Hanshin. She is the that's not a person.
Anyway, when it's late, I feel like I've spoken a lot on other occasions, but I just want to say thank you so much for everyone, for your messages, for coming, for the work that you do. I'm based in Geneva. I try, like Merle does here, we try to kind of mediate between the amazing work in the field and the governments, what the decisions they're making, and then bring that back to you with their appreciation, and of course, calling upon you to help in the implementation, making sure governments do what they say, in an encouraging way, not in a too aggressive way. That's our style at Women's Federation. But anyway, just, we had an event at the opening of the Commission on the Status of Women in Geneva, my NGO committee held, and we had a speaker from the World Food Program. She was the head of the some department related to the gender access and ethical leadership, actually quite an amazing person. And it was just very, coming to these events here in New York, so many people, I see so many of women and young women walking down the street, and you can feel every single one is really hoping that they can do something, impact something, bring their stories, and then go back and do what they're trying to do on a much larger scale in their countries. And when I heard this young woman from the World Food Program, her appreciation actually for the work of women and grassroots organizations, and because the perspective of course, the governments and of the UN agencies is this global perspective, but as you know very well, but they cannot do their job well without us. And we have to really, like in this meeting, of course, we're a little bit talking among ourselves. We have maybe one representative of the international governance, but we have to really fight for this, for the sake of the world. We have to really fight to make our voices heard and to try to make them go as high as possible in respectful ways. And most importantly, young people. We have to really make sure that our young people feel enthused to really kind of go beyond their local proximities and really, really strive to make changes. And I would just want to say hello to Nana, who's in the. We just met her yesterday, actually, at the opening session of the. But it was amazing, actually. You meet so many people, and through this meeting, actually, we were already talking about some potential peace project between Azerbaijan and Armenia, actually. So the opportunities are really amazing in this environment. So thank you to the United Nations, actually, and let's really all take responsibility and take care of each other. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Merlin.
Thank you very much, Carolyn, for guiding our offices and for trailblazing the committees and achieving so much and encouraging us to fight for not just the rights, but for all women, girls, and families to be able to see the world in a more positive way and hopeful way. On behalf of Women's Federation for World Peace International, this is Merle Balan. I want to thank you for your time, for coming here, for your contributions from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. And I want to thank you for your commitment to advancing the gender equality and empowerment of women. Together, let us nourish change and strive for a more inclusive and sustainable future for all. Enjoy your CSW. Thank you.